Just a week earlier, Lynn had dropped the phone when the adoption agency called. We have a match. A birth mother has chosen you. The words shattered years of waiting. Her knees hit the floor as tears flowed. When she picked the phone back up, the representative was smiling through the speaker. It's a girl. Her husband wrapped his arms around her as both of them cried, the kind of tears that come from prayers finally being answered. For Lynn, whose body could not carry life after a childhood accident, this was the miracle she had been begging heaven for. That night, they stayed awake, whispering dreams into the dark. What would she look like? What would her eyes be like? Would she laugh like me? They joked. They chose a name that felt soft, Olivia Grace. Within days, the nursery bloomed into pink and nude colors. Friends hung letters on the wall. Family sent blankets, bows, and tiny shoes. Hope filled every corner of that room. Lynn wore a sweater that said new mom and believed it with her whole heart. At the hospital, she rocked in her chair, waiting for the bell that will announce her daughter's arrival. Text messages poured in, hearts, prayers, celebration. At midnight, the bell finally rang. A baby girl entered the world wrapped in warm blankets and cheers. Olivia Grace was placed into Lynn's arm, and time folded in on itself. Nothing before that moment mattered anymore. In another room, down the same hallway, Jennifer was breaking. Her body was still shaking from the labor. Her face was wet with tears no one tried to wipe away. The same bell that rang joy into Lynn's heart rang grief into Jennifer's soul. She was alone. A college dorm could not hold a newborn. Summer housing was ending. The future she wanted for her life felt miles out of reach. She wanted to keep her baby. She wanted to finish school. She wanted to be a mother without losing everything. But the agency had told her this was love. This was the right thing to do. They showed her Lynn's smiling face, the house, the garden, vacations, the life she could not yet give. And so Jennifer signed. And when they rolled her out of the hospital, her arms were empty. When Lynn walked out, her arms were full. Same baby, different moms. What no one ever told Jennifer was that papers could not erase her motherhood. The grief would not fade. It grew silent, then heavy. She went back to school. She went on with her life. She never told her family, never said Olivia's name out loud, never celebrated a birthday. Every new year, she felt a hollow place inside her chest where a baby should have been. Unhealed adoption trauma does not stay in the past, it lives in the body. Years later, Jennifer would still wake up in the night, heart pounding, wondering where her daughter was. Did she laugh? Did she feel love? Did she ever think of the woman who gave her life and walked away because she believed she had to? Silence became Jennifer's prison, and silence does not protect families, it fractures them. One day, when Jennifer's other children were grown, when life had moved forward without her consent, she realized the truth. Love without healing becomes pain. Adoption without support becomes trauma, and secrets become walls between the people we love. Healing is not about undoing adoption. Healing is about telling the truth about what it costs for birth mothers, for adoptees, for families on both sides of the papers. Where sometimes, somewhere in the world, Olivia Grace was growing into a woman, and somewhere else, Jennifer was still a mother waiting. When I tell this story, I am not telling fiction. I am telling what happens when adoption is treated like an ending instead of a beginning. Because somewhere in the story is every birth mother who signed papers with shaking hands. Somewhere in the story is every adoptee who grew up with questions no one prepared to answer. I know this story because I lived it. For many years, I carried the adoption trauma in silence. I did what Jennifer did. I went on with life. I built a family. I smiled for pictures. I showed up for holidays, but inside, I was still standing in the hospital hallway with empty hands and a full heart. No one told me that grief doesn't disappear when you give a baby to another family. It goes underground. Adoption Unwind podcast exists because healing should not be optional for birth mothers. It shouldn't be something we have to beg for. It should not be something we do alone. When we heal, our families heal, when we tell the truth, our children are free, when we stop pretending we're okay, we begin to finally be okay. This space is not about blame, it's about bravery. If this story touched you, it's because your heart recognizes truth when it hears it.